Hello everyone, welcome back to Tina Teach IELTS Grammar. Today is the first lesson of the definite article the. Okay, the or the, it depends. Now let's move on to the first part of the form and use cases of the. Okay, the is the same for singular and plural, and it's also the same for all genders. Okay, so for example, the boy, the girl, the truck, the trucks, the chair, the chairs is the same thing, right? And the is not different for singular or plural, and it is applicable to all genders, all right? Now, the first use case of the is the object here, or group of objects considered to be unique. And what do I mean by unique? What I mean is that there's nothing else like it, okay? For example, the earth, there's only one earth, right? As far as we know, there are no multiple earths. Same with the sea, there's only, one sea. The groceries, right? If you're referring to groceries, then you mean, oh, I went to the supermarket, I got some eggs, some milk, stuff like that, and that is considered groceries. There are no alternatives to that. Same with the train. When you think of the train, you only think of one particular thing, not anything else. And that's what I mean by being unique, okay? The second use case is before a noun, which has become definite as a result of being mentioned a second time. For example, his car struck a tree. You can still see the mark on the tree. I'm going to go through it one more time. His car struck a tree. You can still see the mark on the tree. Okay? As you can see, the word tree is repeated 2 times, and in the second time it is repeated, you add the. Okay, if you practice listening a lot, you can hear this sort of structure gets repeated often. People don't say his car struck a tree, you can still the mark on tree. Okay, that doesn't sound right. Now let's move on to the third use case. Before a noun made definite by the addition of a phrase or a clause. A phrase or a clause is just a part of a sentence. They are not the full sentence itself. For example, the girl in blue, the man with the hat. Okay, to the over here, the cat nearby, the place where I met him, the dog that I met. Okay, now let's move on to the second part. Before a noun which by reason of locality can represent only one particular thing. For example, Leslie is in the garden. The garden meaning the garden of this house, okay? Not the garden in the neighbor's house or the garden like near the supermarket or anything like that. Just the garden that's nearby in the place that you're currently standing and speaking to the person. Please pass the salt. What salt? The salt on the table, the salt nearby. If you're sitting and eating dinner with someone and you say, please pass the salt, it may mean that the salt, that's in the middle of the table. It can't be any other salt. And so that's what I mean when the can be used before a noun by locality. Locality meaning it's near you, okay? You can see it, or it's nearby, like in the next room, for example. And you can only mean one particular thing, like, oh, go get the bike, for example. And you live in a house and the bike is, let's say, in your backyard. And when you say go get the bike to someone, you mean go get the bike in this house that's located in the backyard. Okay? Like in grammar, when I say things like, by reason of locality, representing one particular thing, It may seem a little bit complex, a little bit fancy, but in actuality, it's just very straightforward. Let's move on to the next part, number 5. The is used before superlatives and first, second, etc. Used as adjectives or pronouns, and the word only as well. Let's look at some example. The first week, the best day. I'm just going to fix this part a little bit. It's not supposed to be behind here, my bad. I didn't pay attention to that. So I've replaced animals or things with animals/things since I ran out of space. Let's just continue. Sorry about that. The whale is in danger of becoming extinct. The whale is in danger of becoming extinct, okay? The fridge has made it easier to store food. The fridge has made it easier to store food. As you can see, the is paired with a singular noun. Whale, not whales. Fridge, not fridges. That represent a class of animals or things. There can be only a category of fridge. When you think of fridge, you only think of one thing. And it's the same with whales, okay? Although there may be different varieties of whale, different variety of fridges. When you talk to people, fridge, whale, bikes, chairs, all of that stuff, they think about the same thing. Let's move on to the last part of the lesson. But man, so this is an exception, used to represent the human race, okay? That is the definition of man, has no article. So it does not go together with the or a or un, for example. And man here, it may be a little bit confusing to you if you're quite new to English. Man has two definitions, okay? It depends on what you pair it with. If you say a man, that means, a guy, a male. But if you simply say man with no article, the, a, an, none of that, it refers to the human race. If cars were never invented, man would have been using the horse. If cars were never invented, man would have been using the horse, okay? Now, the can also be used before a member of a certain group of people, right? So you see this concept a lot, a particular group, a particular noun that denotes a category of animals or things. Shopkeeper is finding life increasingly difficult. The small shopkeeper is finding life increasingly difficult. The plus a singular noun, as used above over here, takes a singular verb, the pronoun, he, she, or it. So this is another use case that is very similar to the one above here. The first class, same as the small shopkeeper, pays more, so he expects some comfort. So before we end our lesson, let's go through this one more time, a quick review, okay? The for the form is the same for singular, plural, and all genders. The boy, the boys, the girl, the girls. And the is used when an object or group of objects is considered to be unique. The groceries, the train, the chair, the table, the fridge. And it is also used before a noun become definite as a result of being mentioned a second time. So in a sentence, there are two instances of the. His car struck a tree. You can still see the mark on the tree, okay? It is also used before a noun made definite by the addition of a phrase or a clause. So part of a sentence, not the sentence itself. The girl in blue. The man with the hat. The cat nearby. You get my point. Let's move on. The is used before a noun, which by reason of locality, it is near you or you know where it is, can represent only one particular thing. Leslie is in the garden of this house that you know where Leslie is. Please pass the salt. The salt on the table, for example, or the salt in the counter, the salt on the fridge. And the is used before superlatives and first, second, acting as adjectives or pronouns, and only. The first week, the best day, the only way, with only, best, and first being adjectives, or use that as adjective. Okay, you can use these three for different purposes, but for now, let's just stick with what they're doing here. The plus a singular noun can represent a class of animals or things. The whale is in danger. The fridge has made it easier, okay? The whale, the fridge, neither are plural. Let's move on to the last part. Man with no article, meaning the human race, okay? This is an exception. You cannot use the with man if you meant to say the human race. If you say the man, that means like a guy or a male person, right? If cars were never invented, man would have been using the horse. Now, if you say the man would have been using the horse, it will spark some confusion. The man? What man? What kind of person are you talking about? What's his name, for example? So remember, man, meaning the human race, has no article. The, a, an, or whatever. The can also be used before a member of a certain group of people. The small shopkeeper, the waitress, the owner, right? The plus singular noun, as used above, over here, for a certain group of people, let's say, takes a singular verb, the pronoun he, she, or it. So you're combining what you learned up here with the and before a member or a certain group of people, along with he, she, or it. The first class traveler pays more, so he expects some comfort, okay? Now, I'm very grateful that you've made it till the end of the lesson. Don't forget to tune in to part 2 of the. The has so many use cases that I cannot fit in this lesson alone. It would be like half an hour, okay? So don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment anything you're curious about. Learn today, better tomorrow, and see you next time.